They did not save the best for last. I could listen to these guys talk all night. And I'll be quick so we can get up here on the panel. But I'll just tell you a little bit about me. I'll tell you, Jesus Christ has changed my life, but football is what I love the most on this earth, right? I love football. My dad was my high school. Any coaches in here? If you're a coach, raise your hand. If you did coach. I know there's some coaches. Yeah, coaches are incredible. Coaches are some of the most influential people in this state, across the country. But with how Mummy, all the coaches that S.C. Gwynn talked about, like there's so many wonderful coaches. My dad was one of them. What I admire most about my dad is we grew up in small towns in West Texas. I was born in Hobbs, New Mexico, under a shoebox full of Texas dirt is what they tell me. I can't verify that because I was a baby, you know. But my dad coached Brian Urlacher at Lovington High School, and then when I was 2 years old, we moved to San Saba, Texas. I just drove through San Saba getting over here. I was reminiscing big time. Looks the same. From San Saba, we moved to, this is the life of a high school football coach. I really respect my dad for a lot of reasons, but we always lived in West Texas in small towns so that on the weekends he could drive me to the farm and make me work all weekend, right? But we lived in San Saba. From there we moved to Kermit, Texas, which is basically New Mexico. I was going through my parents' attic over Christmas, and they were trying to give me all these boxes of just old stuff that my mom kept. I'm like, I don't want any of this stuff. And there was this drawing. I won the third grade art contest at Kermit, Texas. And it was a picture of a sunset, an oil derrick, and me standing beside it, and like there was paint screwed up everywhere. And my mom was like, I won the contest. It was pretty cool. And she was like, why did you draw that? I was like, because everywhere I looked when I lived in Kermit was just oil derricks everywhere, right? So that was a great period of my life. We lived there for a couple years, and then there was suitcases and for sale signs in our front yard one morning, and I asked my parents, like, what is all this? And they were like, son, it's about time to leave. We're going to move to another town, right? Coaches are laughing because you get that. Politics of Friday Night Lights. And then from Kermit, we moved to Hamlin, Texas, Hamlin Pied Pipers. I was there for 2 or 3 years. My dad was the coach there. He actually took over for Art Briles, who was a coach at Hamlin High School, who then went from there to Stephenville before he went to Tech and got with all these guys and became a great football coach. And from Hamlin, I moved to Gymnet High School, where I graduated. I lived there from 6th grade until I graduated and went to college. And so my journey for football started young. I remember I was 3 years old as a water boy at the San Saba Armadillos game against the Goldthwaite Eagles, and I broke my collarbone because I didn't get out of the way on the sidelines. So broke bones early. But I loved the game, and I was around great coaches and coaching staffs. My dad always put great group of men that were teachers and coaches and impacted tons of guys' lives. And Texas high school football in West Texas is an experience, right? They wrote a movie about it. It's called Varsity Blues. That happened at Gymnet. I'm just kidding, but very similar. And then it's my town at Gymnet was there was 3 little towns: Lawn, Texas, Buffalo Gap, Texas, and Tuscola, Texas. It was a consolidated school district. So some of my best friends lived if we wanted to get together and go lift weights and throw the football, I had to drive 45 minutes to the other side of the county to pick them up to come to school. It was an awesome way to grow up. But went to Gymnet High School. We were pretty successful. The beauty of all these coaches was that they didn't just coach football. Football was amazing, but I loved basketball. I loved baseball. I ran track only because my dad made me run it. I played golf. I played tennis. You did all the sports with the same coaches that were your football coaches, right? And so you just were around them and you absorbed things. You learned how to win football games and win basketball games and lose a baseball game and just identify with all your teammates and the town. And the people. As a leader, you were able to just win and lose and figure out those dynamics that truly helped me become who I became. And it was always curious to me how Buffalo Gap had 600 people. That's where I grew up. And when we would go to our games on Friday night, there would be like 7,000 people in the bleachers. Oh, where on God's green earth did these people come from? This is crazy. But everybody loves Texas high school football. And as do I, but Texas football, my dad is a coach, my mom is a school teacher. Moving around in those different places, I learned how to make friends in different areas. It was an amazing way to grow up. And then I was afforded the opportunity to go play football at UT, which changed my life. And still don't know how that happened. I remember when all my friends would go off to summer camps, and my dad would be like, "No, we're going to the farm. We're going to go work," And I didn't get to play AAU, and I didn't get to, go to the swimming pool. We were working on the farm all the time, and I was like, "I'm getting out of here. I'm going to try to do something where I don't have to come to the farm and work anymore." Now I just want to go back and work on the farm. My dad sent me to a Texas A&M football camp. This doesn't leave this room, okay? We're not. But he loved R.C. Slocum, and R.C. Slocum was a great man. And had R.C. Slocum been the coach at A&M when it was time for me to go to college, I don't know what would have happened. But Coach Slocum every summer would call my dad, and my dad would be like, "Man, my boys really want to come to football camp," and he would say, "Well, it's $250 or whatever," and it's like, we can't do that. But he would pack up about 20 footballs, and we would help supply the footballs for the camp, and that was kind of my end to go to football camp. So I would go to football camp at A&M, and not that I liked A&M, but it was a pretty cool stadium, and handled my business there when I got to college. But it was awesome, and the way I got to UT, I've maybe shared this story once or twice, and then we can all come on up here. I had qualified for the regional track meet in the high hurdles, and I didn't love track, but my dad made me run, so I was competing, and I ended up getting a letter from the University of Texas that said, "We have this one-day football camp. We'd love for you to come." And I think it was just a printed letter that was kind of sent to all the schools. But I wanted to play college football. If I didn't go to Texas, I would have gone to Abilene Christian University and played basketball. That was kind of my dream. My mom played basketball at ACU. We lived close to Abilene, mostly growing up, close to the farm. And my granddad was women's basketball coach there for 41 years. He's in the Hall of Fame at ACU. And I was going to be very satisfied with that. But my dad sat me down and he said, "Okay, you can go run." Nobody else had qualified for the regional track meet. So he said, you can go run at the regional track meet, or I'll load you up in the pickup truck and we'll drive to Austin and you can go to this football camp if you think you're, big boy enough to do that. And so he totally left it in my court. He didn't pressure me or whatever. I slept on it that night. I came in. I was like, "You know what? I want to go try this. I got invited to this football camp. I want to go." And it was May of my junior year in high school, so I didn't get recruited up to this point. And so he was like, "Okay, well, you need to call the second place finisher at the district track meet and ask him if he'll take your spot." And I was like, "All right, we'll do that." And it was a rival team down the road. I didn't really want to make the call, but we figured that out. He took it, and we loaded up at like 4 a.m. and drove to Austin. And I just remember getting to campus at Austin, and it was, crazy big, and just a place where it's like, I don't know if I could ever do this, and half the recruits that probably got that letter that probably weren't going to play college football were on this field, and then all the big recruits they were really recruiting were over on this field. And I was like, "Oh man, this is going to be a long day." It was over here on this field. It was Mark Sanchez, who was my class. It was Ryan Perilou. It was Jimmy Clausen. It was these, big guys, big names, big schools. But by the end of the day, I had worked my way over to this field. I had thrown the ball pretty good. And We're walking after camp's over, and me and my dad are walking out to the car, and some guy comes and says, "Hey, Coach Brown wants to see you in his office." And I was like, "Okay, come on, Dad, like, let's go." So we go up in there, and Coach Brown's like, "Now, son, I've never heard of you. Where are you from?" And I told him we were Buffalo Gap, Texas. He's like, "Well, I've never heard of that. What, how far away is that? Like, what part of Texas is that? This is your dad?" "Yeah, this is my dad. This is my coach." So he was like, "All right, well, I thought you'd had a nice day and love to get to know you a little bit more. And why don't we stay in touch?" And I was like, that sounds good to me. He's like, "Do you have any scholarship offers?" "No, sir. I'm going to go to Abilene Christian and play basketball." He was like, "Okay. All right, well, let's be in touch." So I get in the truck with my dad, and we slammed the door. We're kind of leaving Austin. And I was like, "Dadgummit, Dad." I was like, "If I ever get the chance to play there, that's where I want to play." And he looked at me and he goes, "So does every other kid in this state, son." Like, good luck. Like, I mean, that was a fun day. I'm proud of you. Good job. So we drive back to Austin, or drive back to Abilene, get home late. It's a Saturday night. We wake up Sunday morning, and we're all getting dressed to go to church, and we go out the front door, and there was a FedEx overnight from Coach Brown, handwritten, "Here's your scholarship to come play football at the University of Texas." So that's how it happened. And then I guess the rest is history. Obviously, I had to work really hard and earn my job, and nothing was ever given to me. I joke because my class was the smallest class in UT history. We had 13 guys were in my class that year, and we were ranked like number 3 in the country from a recruiting standpoint until I committed. And then we dropped out of the top 10. I wasn't ranked. But I told them, I was like, "Guys, I'll make up for this. Just trust me." And so I'm very thankful for my time at UT, which led to getting to play in the NFL for 14 years. I battled a lot of injuries. That was kind of my MO, but worked really hard. And just, the foundation of growing up in Texas with my parents, my dad as my coach, and being around the game, and that was just part of me. And I just tried to play football as long as I could, and it was a very special journey and ride, and a very special part of my life, and I'll always be thankful for it. So come on up, guys.